Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Universally Me. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Antonia Carlotta and support my work on Patreon, where you can get access to pictures and memorabilia from my family's private collection, postcards and souvenirs from Universal, or even a day in the park with me. February 28th, Universal and Blumhouse are going to release The Invisible Man, which is based on the H.G. Wells book, but more importantly, in my opinion, on the 1933 classic Universal monster film. I'm actually really excited for The Invisible Man. The trailer looks good, I am into this cast, and no matter what, I know it can't be worse than The Mummy was. The Invisible Man is pretty unique for its time by starting in the middle of the story. When we open, Jack Griffin appears at an inn looking for a room. He is covered head to toe. He's got a hat and goggles and a scarf and a long coat. And we soon find out that he is a researcher who found a potion that makes him invisible. But an unfortunate side effect is that it also makes him crazy. He's very adamant that he wants to be left alone in his room, but right from the start there are disturbances. The real trouble begins when he falls behind on his rent and he's made a mess of his room with the research. The innkeeper tries to throw him out, but instead he throws him down the stairs. So the police are called, and it's then that the Invisible Man reveals who he really is. Jack Griffin takes off his bandages and shows the nothing that's underneath. There's a mad hunt for the Invisible Man and many casualties along the way. And while all this is going on, his fiancée and research partner are looking for him too. In the end, he's shot and mortally wounded by police, and it's in the hospital just as he passes away that his body slowly becomes visible again. The Invisible Man was released November 13th, 1933. It starred Claude Rains as Jack Griffin, aka the Invisible Man, William Harrigan, Henry Travers, and Gloria Stuart, who you might know best as Old Rose from the Titanic.
It's been 84 years.
It's pretty crazy, but before The Invisible Man, Claude Rains had only been in one short film ever. The Invisible Man was basically his film debut. In fact, he'd only really seen 6 movies his entire life before. It was a little bit of a bumpy road to get The Invisible Man started. It was about a 2-year process and different directors signed on and dropped out, but it was once James Whale joined that he pushed for Claude Rains. Before that, the first choice actor had been Boris Karloff. It's also worth mentioning that Gloria Stuart did not enjoy working with Claude Rains. She said that he was difficult, an actor's actor, and that he really didn't give much. She was also frustrated at their height difference. He was a lot shorter than she was. So a lot of times for scenes, he would be standing on a box and she would have to stand barefoot in a trench. But, you know, ultimately they made it work. I would have loved to be in the early meetings trying to figure out how to make this movie work. John P. Fulton, John J. Mescal, and Frank D. Williams are responsible for the special effects, and they were state-of-the-art. Even today, they hold up pretty well. When they were making the movie, they were super secretive and didn't want to give any of their tricks away. But I did find some references to mirrors being used for optical illusions, as well as wires to show the actions of the Invisible Man. For scenes where Claude Rains would be wearing clothes or where he was supposed to be taking them off, a map process was used to create the invisibility effect. First, they would take a shot of the room that the action was going to happen in. Then, Claude Rains would wear a completely black velvet suit, and he would perform the scene in front of a completely black velvet background. And then they would combine those 2 shots together, and Jack Griffin would be invisible. The Invisible Man had a fantastic opening, and it broke records at many theaters. Critics praised Claude Rains, mostly for his voice since they couldn't see him a lot, and they really liked the special effects. H.G. Wells himself really enjoyed the movie, though he did take issue with the fact that in the movie it's the potion that makes him go crazy, where in the book he just starts out that way. This movie is such a great blend of horror and comedy, which, you know, James Whale was great at. Like, I always find myself giggling in the opening scenes at the inn with Una O'Connor. She's comedic gold. But it's not all laughs. Like, I would venture a guess that The Invisible Man probably has a higher kill count than any other Universal monster.
You must be made to understand what I can do.
The Invisible Man doesn't get as much attention as the other monsters. And I think some of this might be because in his true form, he's invisible and there's less there to love. But also maybe because the writing is not 100% in the movie. Like, I would say they could have done a little more to build out the characters and make us care what happens to them, or to build the tension and make it truly scary. But the Invisible Man as an idea, I will say, might be the scariest to me. It's kind of like being afraid of the dark, I think. What you can't see might be scarier than what you can. So what about the new Invisible Man? Well, I will say I'm optimistic. I generally really like Blumhouse movies, and I'm so encouraged by the fact that they're making this as a standalone film and not as part of a greater universe. That being said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of overlap between the two movies other than the name and general invisibility. For all of my patrons who are mummy level and higher, I'm going to put more information on my Patreon that didn't make it in this video. And I'm so eager to hear everybody's thoughts, what you think of the old movie as well as the new one once it comes out. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.